So people are sleeping on the biggest piece of 49ers news from Friday, probably because they're distracted by the procedural move of putting Ricky Pearsall on the physically unable to perform list. But the bigger deal pertains to Brock Purdy's offensive line. Ben Bartch, in line to be the starter at left guard possibly this season, at least over the course of the offseason, was placed on the non-football injury list. Now, we don't know the extent of Bartch's injury yet, and we're going to find out from Kyle Shanahan when he and John Lynch speak to the media to open training camp on Tuesday. But it's very, very important to pay attention to this. The 49ers were never going to re-sign Aaron Banks, who ended up joining the Green Bay Packers for $19 million annually. Goes to show you how crazy the offensive line market has become. The 49ers push for more cost efficiency on the inside, given the fact that Banks was never a great player for them. In fact, Ben Bartch, when he filled in for an injured Aaron Banks last season, actually performed better in both run blocking and pass blocking metrics. The problem is that Bartch suffered a high ankle sprain, so his time active was very, very limited for the 49ers in 2024, even though it was promising. Side note, let's go back into the history of Ben Bartch. When this guy was converting from tight end to offensive line in college, he went on an epic diet. In order to gain weight, Bartch consumed a protein shake daily consisting of 7 scrambled eggs, a tub of cottage cheese, quick grits, peanut butter, bananas, and Gatorade, growing from 240 pounds to 275 pounds in just one summer. He eventually reached 308 pounds with this method, playing at small school St. John's in Minnesota. Bartch was then drafted in 2020 by Jacksonville in the 4th round. He dislocated his knee in 2022. 49ers poached him off of Jacksonville's practice squad in 2023. He worked back the strength, played those 2 really good games before suffering the high ankle sprain last year. But now he lands himself on the non-football injury list, which means that there was an injury that happened away from the team facility. So the track record here is that Ben Bartch seems to be getting hurt a lot. Can the 49ers depend on him to step in and be that starting left guard, even though he does have a ton of natural ability, as we have seen? Drafted in the 4th round out of a small school, was able to make that conversion from tight end to offensive line. He obviously doesn't lack desire, eating a full tub of cottage cheese a day. I mean, yeah, this guy wants to be a great offensive lineman, has shown that he has the physical ability to do so. The question now is, can he stay healthy? So we'll find out more about the details of his injury on Tuesday. But if Ben Bartch is not ready to go at any time soon, early in 49ers training camp, we might see Matt Hennessy get some significant first-team snaps at the 49ers starting left guard position. Now, Hennessy is somebody who people might know more as a center. He started at center for the Atlanta Falcons, but he's also played some guard, left guard specifically at the NFL level. And Kyle Shanahan said over the course of the offseason that the 49ers would be competing Matt Hennessy at that guard position. In fact, back in 2022, Matt Hennessy saw all 75 of his snaps that season come at the guard position. That was following in 2021. He was the starter at center for the Atlanta Falcons. Then they brought in Drew Dahlman. I know a lot of 49ers fans wanted their team to draft the son of Chris Dahlman, but Dahlman took over for Matt Hennessy, who moved to guard, but then he suffered a knee injury, and all of 2023 was wiped out for Matt Hennessy. But he has experience playing at that left guard position. In fact, the best pass and run blocking grades of Matt Hennessy's career, and he's a really good run blocker, he could really move, have come at that left guard position. So he definitely is in the mix to compete for the 49ers at left guard. And then there's Nick Zakelj, Brock Purdy's former roommate, 6th round pick out of Fordham in 2022. Zakelj played toward the end of last season and pass blocked very, very well. Only gave up 1 pressure over his time filling in at left guard to close the year for San Francisco. I think the run blocking still needs work for Nick Zakelj, but that's what this offseason is for. This is kind of a last chance for Nick Zakelj to earn a starting spot for the 49ers, and the opportunity does seem to be golden now that Ben Bartch, who was the next man up last year, is on NFI, at least for the time being. And the competition for Nick Zakelj, at least at the very start of training camp, might be a converted center in Matt Hennessy. Of course, the 49ers also have two rookies for this guard position. They used the 7th-round pick on Connor Colby out of Iowa, who moves extremely well, who I think is very polished when it comes to run blocking, but still has a lot of work to do in pass blocking. And they also signed Drew Moss out of Colorado State. That's an undrafted free agent who, like Connor Colby, has great movement ability, is a really good run blocker, but probably still a little rough around the edges in the pass blocking game. You guys know that earlier this offseason, I predicted that Connor Colby would see some time starting for the 49ers along that offensive line. And the reason I said that was because we look at all the uncertainty for the 49ers, especially at those guard positions. Ben Bartch now on NFI. What's Nick Zakelj going to do in terms of run blocking to earn himself a spot? And of course, Matt Hennessy, well, yes, he can play that guard position, but I think a lot of folks looked at him more as a center when San Francisco was able to bring him over from Atlanta last year. We'll see who fits the job the best, but as we've seen over the course of the past several seasons, it is very, very often, almost always, a game of attrition. This is the National Football League. Guys get hurt. You have to work on your depth, and you have to make sure that you have the adaptability to fill into the needed spots over the course of the season. So it would not be surprising if the 49ers had to call on one of their rookies to fill in. And I think that Connor Colby, given the fact that he's been at Iowa, a program that really, really emphasizes run blocking, especially some of the techniques that the 49ers use, I think that he might be a good plug and play option for the 49ers after he gets some development time. The question is, how soon is that going to be needed? Can the 49ers hold down the fort with a veteran in front of Brock Purdy at that left guard position? I will say this. I do think that there's a non-zero chance that they actually take a step forward at this left guard position, despite the fact that there is so much uncertainty. We saw it with those two Ben Bartch games last season. Before he got hurt, he was giving the 49ers a little bit of an upgrade, especially in terms of pass protection. So we'll see how the 49ers can run the mix and match this year, and we'll see who emerges at what is a very, very intriguing left guard spot. This was the biggest news, Bartch's injury from Friday, and it's been a little bit buried, but whenever we're talking about Brock Purdy's offensive line, I think we need to push it to the forefront of the discussion.